Welcome, everyone. Once again, you've come to another Toonamaste live stream. Today, we got something special for you. We got something pretty unique, if I may say so myself. Now, we got a musical breakdown of an Animal Crossing song and an Attack on Titan song by Owen and Andruchow. The one and only, the most magical, the most spectacular, the most goat-like. Hey, I can go on for hours about the man, but I could also let him tell you about him himself. If
Yeah.
Blessed be the man has arrived, the legend.
Thanks for the introduction.
My
name's Owen. I go by Ohno. You can find me at Ohno10 on my Instagram account, and like various other things. But usually on platforms, I go by Ohno, and I go by that for all my music stuff too. I'm a film composer and video game composer, and piano player, songwriter, and just general music lover all around. And I'm happy to be here breaking down this music for you guys and with you guys. It's gonna be fun. Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Yo, my pleasure, dog. My pleasure. You are a phenomenal human being, and you are quite masterful with the breakdowns and the music, if I may say so myself. So just to ease us in, y'all already know what's coming. You already see it on the screen. Y'all, it's clear as day. The welcome to Animal Crossing, the new leaf. We got that new for you, y'all. We got that song that, frankly, is one of the best Animal Crossing songs I have ever heard, and I still think it is today. And what we're gonna have to do with that is that new leaf, Gracie Gracie. So I'm just gonna hit play first, real quick, and then we're gonna let it rock and enjoy the vibes for a moment.
Would, although I can't actually hear it myself.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'd definitely still be able to talk about it, but there might be a weird routing thing going on.
Yeah, one moment, because that is I can see it's coming through the live stream. Just give me one moment.
Okay. I'm about to bring back the vibes. In the meantime, I'm gonna bring back the vibes, yo. We can show you a little bit more about what Owen's about to do with this song. What do you have in mind in terms of breaking down this one? Well, what's great about Gracie Gracie is it's deceptively simple, and honestly, you could probably say the same thing about this entire game. They make a lot of music like this, which uses some pretty interesting jazz harmony. But what I'm going to talk about here is all the different instruments they use. And they use synthesizers mostly, that's my guess. Honestly, you could probably make this music with Logic stock plugins, which are pretty good, by the way. But they use synthesizers that sound like real instruments. So there's a lot of bell type instruments. There's a lot of mallet type instruments. There is a vibraphone sound in there, but there's a lot of synthesizer instruments that sounds like it could be a marimba crossed with an electric piano. and things like that, or maybe even like a doorbell sound, things that ring and have a quick percussion to it. And on the first listen, you think that it's all the same instrument. But then as you listen into it, you realize every time the melody plays, it's either played in a different octave, or the instrument is totally different, or the orchestration of the instrument's different. And then there's all the backup stuff. So there's like the percussion and the something I just noticed, the lack of a bass instrument, which is interesting. Usually you find a bass instrument. So I don't know. There's so many cool things about the instrumentation that I want to get into that I think is super interesting and informative. If you're a composer yourself, can be informative for your own composing or just interesting enough about this song.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. And I'm gonna bring it back right now.
Yeah.
You hear that?
All right, here we go. Yeah.
Sweet. Turn it down a little bit too, so we can listen to it as you're talking.
Okay. We'll do it's the whole thing's a loop, so we'll just let it play once and then I'll get into it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
There it is. So the first thing, when I'm analyzing any piece of music, the first thing I go to is probably the easiest things to grasp. And that's generally the percussion, because it's repetitive, it's not a pitched instrument, it's easy to tune into. And here we've got 3 different percussion elements that repeat throughout. We've got a bass kick. Cool thing about this bass kick is, like, kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is that takes care of the bass end of this song. There really is no bass instrument. The electric piano plays some bass notes sometimes, but other than that, it's all in like the high mid registers, that like really tight, you can hear it, the tight punchy bass kick totally takes care of any low end you would need. The rest is just like kind of ornamentation, high end stuff. So I love that bass kick. It's just sweet and simple and punchy. What else do we got percussion wise? There's a shaker in the left, and this kind of clicking sound shaker in the right ear, and a clicking sound in the left ear. So right there we have a few elements that are super cool. Bass kick totally takes care of the low end of this song, other than a few keyboard notes in the low register, and you got some panning, and that takes care of the whole percussion. Could we back it up to the very beginning? Because there's something I want to point out in terms of the instrumentation. There's something I really like about the very first melody instrument.
Sure thing. Here you go.
Cool. Okay, pause it for one moment. So what I love about that melody, and what I'm referring to, is when it starts going da 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 da, is this, it starts out kind of like one of the heavier melodic instruments that we have throughout the whole thing, and it's in both ears, but it's in octaves, so one's higher than the other, and then there's this delay on it, so you kind of hear this repetitive effect. It's like da 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 da. Da, 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 and Chris, something I learned from you, one of the first effects I learned that was really helpful for just making anything sound interesting, especially vocals, is adding delay on it. And you hear that so much, and it's kind of just softens the sound. It gives a little bit of essence to the sound because it spreads it out a little bit. And then it adds for variation, because right after we hear that da 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 in both ears, then we hear the vibraphone just in the right ear. Right, so we're already making these orchestration decisions in terms of where we're placing the sound, how thick the sound's going to be, and we're only like, what is it? We're only like 20 seconds in, so I think that's just a really cool choice that they made
making this simple, sweet song. They're not oversimplifying it. They're still making it interesting to listen to by adding all these different instruments and using even though it's like the same simple sounding melody.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because like that's like my first gander of like hearing this is just the pure simplicity. But as you're breaking it down, it's making you understand there's a deeper complexity, is what you're saying. And like you can like, no, you might have to go back and like, listen to it a little more to get a little more of an idea.
And with the something I like about when the loop starts.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this isn't when the loop starts. This is only at the very beginning of the piece. They introduce all three percussion elements in order. So I think it goes bass kick, then shaker, then click, and it might be click then shaker. I can't remember which comes first, but they stair step it. That's a term I had a composing instructor tell me once, and it's a really neat trick for any composer, no matter what music you're working with. It's just you have an underlying idea, and you layer it with something else, and then you layer it with something else, and all those underlying ideas don't change, right? So you maintain that continuity, and you stair step it, kind of like a staircase, right? You have that support, and then you just put all these ornaments on top of it. And in a very simple way, they do that here with the percussion in the very beginning.
Yeah, I can hear exactly what you're talking about too. Here, I'm gonna bring it right back. Here we go. You can hear it?
Great to see you too. Yeah, thanks for coming.
You can hear that?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So there was something I liked about that part of the melody that we just heard.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same instrument from the very beginning, except everything's pitched higher, and you get a vibraphone counter melody that's kind of dovetailed next to it. So the first melody we hear is da 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 da. It's a really thick mid-range register with the delay. The next time we hear it, we're hearing it right now, I think. Yeah. It's the same instruments, but all pitched up an octave, so everything's higher sounding. And then, yeah, like I said, basically just repeating myself. Instead of waiting for the vibraphone in the next phrase, they just kind of dovetail it, and it does this little like fun ornamentation thing. So yeah, I love how composers use the elements they have and they make the most out of it. And if they're gonna repeat an idea, because the melody basically repeats itself, it's the same notes for the most part, but in this case, put in a different register and then with an added sort of ornamentation at the end of it.
I listening to you speak and break this down just makes me even more realize how much like I love this song so much. Like I wish I had made it. I wish this song had come from me. I wish deeply. It's
crazy.
Song.
It's like something sounding this good actually takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because you want people still to enjoy it. Like the idea is that they're sitting, not really thinking about it, but this is looping music, so it has to be interesting. Like you can't get bored of this, or else the purpose of it, it's only 30 seconds or so of music. If you write something boring, they're not going to want to play your game. I actually got a question for you. When in the game does this play? Usually, a lot of times looping music plays on like title cards or when you're in a menu. But also play when you're just like exploring a world. Do you know when this plays in the game?
So in particular, this particular song, I'm not gonna hold you right now. It is escaping me, but I do know that there are certain songs that play at certain times, depending on what time it is in the game. But I also know there are also certain songs that play at certain places, depending on where you are in the game. Like, it's. As I said, the exact spot of where this plays is escaping me, but I know I've like heard it before, and I've played a little bit of Animal Crossing, not a whole ton, enough to understand what it is, but not like man, I'm eight series deep, finished all of them like gold star. Like I wish.
I've listened. I've never played Animal Crossing. I've watched people play it, but then I've listened to a lot of the music. And that's true
Same.
for so many video games. I'm not much of a gamer, but I love video game music. So I should probably become a bit more of a gamer, just to assimilate myself better. But I don't know. I guess I'm a musician at heart. And Animal Crossing sounds like a game I'd be into too, because my favorite games are like Nintendo games and Crash Bandicoot.
Man,
You know, I love the PlayStation 2, and so the cartoon games are definitely my favorites. So
No, and I agree, dog. Like one of my favorites, and which has dope music as well, is like Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers is fantastic. It's such a simple art style, but hence with the context of this music, like the simplicity of it. I mean, as we mentioned before, like it doesn't take you away. It's not there to take you away from the game. Though it's still amazing to listen to on its own, but like this, like. If I would probably just leave my character idle and just like plug my Switch into my TV, leave my character idle on this particular section wherever the song is, and I probably just walk away and go do something else and just listen to this. Let this blast at full volume.
you know what that reminds me of? This is totally a side tangent, but it reminds me of the sophomore year in college, the menu music to the PlayStation 2 that was like da 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 da.
Yeah.
And it would just play all day, and no one would play, but they would just have that playing all day. Like we'd go to bed to that.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, and that's how you know you really have like a. Because that's the thing. That's the thing about particularly when it comes to video game music is like, as you mentioned, like you gotta be able to hear this hundreds, not even hundreds, thousands of times, and not get tired of it. It has to be that good. Like it has to be that loopable, and
it's got to be interesting. And that's why I wanted to focus on the instrumentation, because that's probably what people will grasp first. I mean, if you're a musician, if we have musicians listening, I know you know a lot about this, Chris. There's relatively complicated harmony if you're compared to like pop music. Like there's 7 chords and some interesting stuff going on there. That stuff you'll get a sense of internally, but I don't think most listeners, when they're listening to music, they'll be able to hear the differences in between the timbre, right, the sound quality of an instrument. That's really easy to point out, and I think that's what they take advantage of very well in a lot of Animal Crossing music, to be honest. You know, it kind of keeps you engaged.
Oh, it definitely keeps me engaged. This like this and 5 p.m. is another Animal Crossing song. I think 5 p.m. from New Risings. It's so good. Like this right here, like this track, like I'm listening to it and listening to you keep breaking it down to me. I'm like, man, I might have to remix it. Like at this point,
I know.
It's so good. It's my gosh. I hope everyone feels the same way too about just how fire the song is. My god.
Yeah, it's great.
Is there anything else you would like to say about this particular song?
Yeah, probably. I think there was a few other things. There's an interesting. So I talked about the mallet sounds they have. There's a lot of percussive. If you're familiar with mallet instruments like the glockenspiel, the marimba, they have a straight up vibraphone sound. That's very clearly vibraphone. But the other ones are a little bit more ambiguous because they're probably synthesizer sounds. Like if you're in Logic, maybe you're familiar with like Sculpture or Alchemy, or like, you know, like Omnisphere mallet sounds for anybody who's into the digital audio workstation stuff. So, you know, it's just listening to it, you can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but you get the general gist of what they're going for. But then there was one sound towards the end here that kind of threw me off because it sounded more like a doorbell to me. And we just heard it there.
Yeah, that was actually perfect.
Yeah.
That was perfect timing. Wow.
Yeah. And there's the sound that comes right before it is also, I think it's the same sound. I'm not exactly sure.
That was so perfect.
Yeah, how about this? Let's run it back to the beginning again, and then I'll just point out when it comes, so we can hear the whole thing.
Got you.
So here we have the mallet sounds with the delay. Electric piano in the background, playing the chords. Vibraphone. Same thing, but an octave up. Here's the... It's like a doorbell.
Yeah,
and then we go back to the delayed sound. And that one threw me off. I didn't hear that at first, especially when I was just listening to this passively. I didn't catch that was actually a different sound. It was one of the last things I caught in terms of all the difference in tone qualities we have going on here. So I love that. It's a perfect way to end the phrase. You know, it's like a softer sound. So yeah, it was a great choice.
Hey man.
There's one other thing. There is a weird. This was a tricky one to find because it's the sound that I'm about to talk about doesn't exist at the top of the register. It's kind of tucked in below. I think it's about to come up. It's a lower harmony. This like punchy, like mid-rangey instrument. Right here. You hear it in the left ear? Dunk, dunk, dunk. And right there again.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and I don't think it's layered into this sound we're hearing at all. I think we only hear it on the second half of the phrase. And they kind of tuck it in there nicely, too.
It's so sweet. Yeah. Oh my
God. And here it is. Yeah, it's just a nice little lower harmony. Doesn't demand attention.
Literally. No, it's beautiful. I love it.
Right, but it fills it out. It fills it out. And like I mentioned before, there's a lack of a bass instrument at all here, other than the bass kick. That's just taking care of that low frequency. So adding it in there kind of just bolsters that low end a little bit. So yeah. I think that's the whole ensemble here. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. The only thing that I think I missed. Oh, my family's getting in the action. I'm on just for people who might be wondering. I'm on family vacation now, so like they keep on coming in and making faces and.
He said he's on the live stream.
Anyway. What were they saying? Well, okay, one instrument I haven't covered. There it is. That one. It's like an electric piano. It's like a different electric piano instrument. It's kind of it's not as sharp as the mallet instruments. It kind of sounds like the soft chord. It's a little heavier than the soft chords we have going in the background. It's just yeah. I think that's the last one because that one sounds a bit different than the melody instruments to me. I'll just point it out one more time when it happens. It's like the interlude melody. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. So even they all have a very similar character to them, but they're just different enough to fulfill their respective roles. You know. So they did a great job at combining similar yet just as different as they need to be elements to create something very cohesive here.
I hear what you're saying. Well. Well, if we want to take the time, I, if I'm not mistaken, you said you had yourself a little video, breaking this down.
Well, okay, so I have a sheet I shared with you, and I have a video of me playing it on melodica. If anybody's interested in learning, so I guess I should explain. I made a few things if you're interested in learning this yourself. You know, I actually didn't go on YouTube and look up if there were any tutorials, so there might be. And if so, you could probably use those too. But I also offered some stuff in case you wanted to learn the chords and the melody. I figured out the melody. Yeah, I figured out the melody, and I took a few videos of me playing it on my melodica. I did one at normal speed and one slow, and that's written into the file names. So, and I think Chris would share this all with you guys. at some point, like through a chat or something, I'm sure.
Yeah, join the Discord.
So there's that. Okay, yeah, in the Discord, right? Discord chat. So there's 2 melodica videos of the melody, and then I have a sheet which you could share, right? I'll just kind of break that down.
Hey, you want me to bring them up?
Yeah, pull up the sheet.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me I mean, also, if you want to bring up the sheet too on your live.
Oh, that's true, because I can do that. I was having trouble sharing sound, but sharing
audio, we should
image.
Be good.
Yeah.
Be Gucci.
Yeah. So let's see.
Okay. Alright, let me.
Guys, can y'all see that?
Yep. 1 second. I'm loading. Boom. There we go. Let me check the video quality.
Okay, cool. You can see it.
Yep.
Awesome. So, if you're interested,
hold up. So
you
sound a little
learning it.
robotic right now.
Well, that might be because I'm started.
Yeah. You know what? If that's the case, then I will show it on here. One moment. I got you. I'm gonna come back to my live stream. It's like we're playing live stream tag. Hold up. I got you. Let me change the window.
Apologize. I'm in main right now, and I'm using the Wi-Fi, which is, I guess, good enough for the video and audio here, but I think it suffers when I try to do multiple things at once. Okay, but Chris has got it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, all set. You feel me?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So basically, how I've laid this out here is you could look at the videos of me playing for, and you could also just listen to the video for the rhythm of the melody. You know, I mean, if you can sing it yourself, then you got the rhythm down. This is just the notes, so it's, you know, a paper to look to if that is something that's helpful for you. And then the chords, because the chords can be tricky to figure out. There's one link online that I actually put right here, which has chords and it has this play along thing, but the chords aren't completely accurate. Like some of them, if you're familiar with music notation and charts and chord symbols, there were some things missing. Like, so like maybe it would have said E minor, but not E minor 7.
Okay.
Sure, not F sharp minor 7. And if you, yeah, you know what I mean? And like adding that 7th chord really creates the vibe, especially in a piece like this. So I just wanted to go in and clarify some of the stuff that was missing from this link here. And I put it in here. And the way I lined it out is like the melody, every chord is listed here. And then the notes that are played along with that chord are listed here. And I kind of separated by dashes. So when you change the chord, these are the notes you play with that chord. These little guys are grace notes. So for instance, in the this right here is the first vibraphone line. It goes like, oh shoot, I just realized I'm like highlighting on my screen here, but you're the one sharing the screen, so I'm not. Sorry. If you look at line 1 and you see E minor 7 chord, above that, those notes, those little small notes, are grace notes. So when the vibraphone's playing, da, 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 that's all that is, you know. And I had that explained here too. Yeah, we got the intro, the first line, second line, all the chords line up with the respective melody notes, and I put the YouTube link in there too. So there's a link for the YouTube, which is what we just watched. There's a link. There's a chordify link, which is something you can play along to. Just the chords themselves aren't super accurate. And other than that, that's it. So yeah, I hope this helps if you're interested in learning it. It might be a good little thing to check, you know, if just to have, like, I think having a piece of paper is always helpful for me. I love writing things down, and just having something physical I can look at, or even on a screen while I'm learning a new song, I always find it very helpful. So if that's helpful to you, you can certainly use it. Great.
Yes. Look at this, beautiful. Coming with the resources, the resource pack. The man is prepared.
Yeah.
If y'all had any questions, I don't know how you would, because he just laid it all out for us. Simply put.
Well, if you do, DM me on Instagram, all that, or in the chat here. If I don't know if I have access to the Discord chat, but feel free to ask questions.
How do they find you on Instagram?
Yeah, at Ohno10, OHNO, then just the number 10. My YouTube is Ohno, OHNO. And those are the two big ones. I have a website, Ohno Notes. Which I don't know if it's on the poster, but yeah, ohnonotes.com, OHNO notes.com. So you can check me up there and all those places. Got all my music, and I'll be revamping a lot of those sites, or my site and my other pages soon, because I got a ton of content that I've kind of have ready to release from I was just in a master's program, and I wrote a ton of music for that. Just graduated.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more that I'm going to be releasing soon. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Wow, out here just
so you can find me there. Yeah. Yep. Master Ohno.
Y'all heard it here first. First. The master himself. Oh my gosh, beautiful. This is beautiful. Now, Ohno, my question for you next is: do you want to step into this next song?
I'd love to.
All right, sounds great. Okay.
All right.
Then we about to set you up one moment. All right, let's switch over to this song. Got it already loaded up, and let's switch the live feed so you can hear too. Where are you, Mr. Live Feed? There we go. Boom, switched it over. Simple as that. And that's hit play, and we're gonna listen to this all the way through.
Absolutely.
For the first one. You hear that?
Oh, you guys well? Oh, sorry. You didn't tell me.
He's not even working.
Yeah. The video goes on, and it's like I don't know what plays at the end, but that was the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely epic. Absolutely spectacular. Absolutely breathtaking. Oh, that song is almost as fire as the anime itself.
Yeah. This is the anime I actually need to start watching. You guys got me into anime. You introduced me to anime in college. I still need to get into it, but the music is great.
So good.
Yeah, as maybe you've noticed at this point, I'm pretty narrowly focused on the music. Like I tend to know a lot of the music to animes and to video games. I don't necessarily play them or watch them myself, but I should because it'll help me understand the music even better. Um, Attack on Titans. I like Parasite. There's a few animes I like. I like Parasite that I've seen. One Piece, and there's one more. My Hero Academia. That's one, right?
Yep.
And then I've seen, but I've also seen like Cowboy Bebop and Attack on Titan a little bit. So I mean, they got some great music.
Cowboy Bebop
Anyway.
might be the GOAT when it comes to music, bro. All that jazz. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Yo, I can hear all the numbers in my head right now. Man, but yeah.
Anyway, that's just me getting sidetracked. I love that you chose this because it's so much different than Gracie Gracie, and
So different.
we can approach it totally different here too. This piece uses an orchestra, pretty big one by the sound of how powerful that string section is. So, yeah, totally robust, and it's a very. I mean, you might notice some similarities in the approaches between composing this and composing something like Gracie Gracie, but an orchestra is its own animal, and that's what I spent most of my time studying in my master's program, actually, which I just did at Seattle Film Institute this past year. I'll be going back to Seattle, actually. That's where I'm based, or that's where I will be based for the time being, at least a year. I can see myself moving to LA soon, but anyway, another thing that is beside the point. Yeah, I'll be a West Coast man. Grew up on the East Coast. Now I'm checking out the West Coast. Anyway, back to the point. Attack on Titan. This is incredibly epic, and it uses a concept that I talked about earlier called stair stepping, and they use it a lot more here. So back in Gracie Gracie, I think the only thing they stair stepped was the percussion in the beginning, but here you've got this orchestrate. You got a lot of musical ideas, let's say, layered on top of each other in real time, while the underlying element, as new elements are added, the underlying elements are unchanging until we move into a totally new section. But and I can kind of just like demonstrate, I guess. Let's run it back to the beginning, and I'll just break down what we're hearing.
Got you.
Yeah.
One moment. I gotta log back in. I gotta switch screens again. A second. Okay. That was a fast switch. Okay. You can hear it, right?
So pause right here.
Okay.
So what we just heard, we heard the intro. And the reason I know that whole thing was the intro is because we had the melody was just about to come in, right? So something we do in orchestral music is we establish a texture, and then above that texture, we play the melody. And they developed that in two parts there. First, you heard it's timpani and double basses. Maybe I should outline the categories that we're going to be talking about here. So we've got a huge string section, as I already talked about. String section is comprised of violins, violas, cellos, and basses. They also go by the name stand-up bass or double bass, but we can just call them bass because it's the only bass instrument here. It's not like we're dealing with electric basses or anything like that. Big double bass instrument. The opening of this piece is a timpani and a double bass. The double bass just sustains, and then the timpani is hit, and it's got its long decay, and that kind of gives us that starts us out with this powerful underlying support for the texture, and above that we hear this minor cello melody, and there's quite a lot of cellos here too. My guess is this is like it sounds like it's like a 50-piece string orchestra. So I don't know, you've got something on the order of 10 cellos maybe playing just that one line. I mean, that's the great thing about orchestral music is you've got, usually, especially with the string section, you have so many instruments just playing one idea, and it's just so heavy and it's so thick and it's so powerful. And I love that about the orchestral sound. So that's what we hear right off the bat. Timpani and basses playing one idea as our underlying foundation, then the cello playing a melodic texture above it. That's played for 4 measures, and then after that, something goes on in the high strings. So when I say high strings, I'm usually basically always referring to the violins and the violas. Those are the smaller string instruments. I can't exactly remember what the texture sounds like in the high strings, but after 4 measures of just the cellos and the basses and the timpani, we then get the high strings filling out the top end of the texture. And then once we get that, once that's been established, then our melody comes. So here we see our stair-stepping thing, right? We're just building on our ideas, not just like sequentially forward in time, but actually vertically in terms of the frequency, right? So that's a cool idea. It's like we're literally building a staircase forward in time and going higher. Yeah, it's a cool visual and auditory. It's like a good visual analogy for the auditory effect happening here. So the next thing we're going to hear, we've got our texture settled. The next thing we're going to hear is our texture being played under a flute melody. So we can maybe run it back like, I don't know, like 10 seconds, and then we'll kind of bring it into the flutes.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay, pause here. A few really cool things. One cool thing I actually just noticed here, and then a few other things which I definitely planned on talking about here. Orchestration choices. There were some important orchestration choices made here. One is that we're moving from a lighter to a heavier sounding melodic instrument. So we go from the flute, that plays the flute theme, and then after 8 measures of that, we go on to horns, right? So horns are a brass instrument that is the essence of just heroic, but I mean, in this context, kind of maybe a fallen hero, just given the expressions on these guys' faces, you know? Like yeah. So we're getting heavier. Like, we knew this was a sad song, a sad piece from the start, but we're gradually getting heavier as we hear the horns come in. The French, also known by the name French horns, and that's a brass instrument, and brass tends to have a heavier quality in general versus a woodwind instrument like the flute. So what else is going on here? It's got this underlying propulsion of just boom, boom, right, and that hasn't changed so far. harmonies have changed, like the chords have changed, but the underlying propulsion has not changed yet. That's what gives us our forward movement, especially in the low end, we're going to hear that about the change soon, but for now it hasn't changed. So we're still kind of like grudging along and just getting heavier and heavier. The strings, the high strings, when they came in, they're just playing pads, just string pads for the most part. So whole notes under the flutes. Then once the horn comes in, once we start hearing the horn melodies, one of the most effective orchestration tricks is, instead of adding elements to make something sound more with this, give it more of a sound with more gravitas, or just a heavier feeling, something kind of in a contradictory way, sometimes taking away elements can make something feel more heavy all of a sudden. And that's exactly what they do here. So once you hear the French horns, both the violins and the cello line gets taken out. And the cello is what I just heard for the first time here. I didn't notice that before. But you don't hear that cello melody going on anymore. Or it's really like a melodic texture. You don't hear the cello going on anymore. You don't hear the high strings. And then it just leaves space for the horns to speak. All the while, the doom is still happening, giving us our propulsion. So let's do this. Let's back it up to the flutes. And once we hear the horns come in, listen to how we most of the orchestra drops out for the horns to speak. And then after 4 measures of them they're doing their thing, we get this pickup to this gorgeous violin line that complements it really nicely, And the reason that violin line sounds so beautiful is because of the silence preceding it. It gave us this space that we could then fill. Yeah. So let's back it up to 1 minute might be fine. Wherever there's like the start of the flute line, maybe like a back a couple, like 10 more seconds, 20 more seconds. Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah. So right now you can hear it's very full. It's very thick orchestration. Only 2 things happening here. Just that and the horns. And then our violin comes back. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Now on to our next section. Okay, here's a good place to pause. I'm pausing here because we're just about to hit our climax, but we did a lot to lead into there. So there were 2 sections there. There was a very gorgeous textural section, and then the intensity really dropped into just this quarter note movement, with a lot of silence.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the first, what I found was really interesting about the first very textural section that we just listened to is that, and I've been thinking of whether or not the composers did this on purpose or if this is just kind of what happened. It's always kind of hard to tell, but there wasn't a clear melody there. Maybe it sounded like the horns were kind of playing a melody, but it was getting buried with the strings, which makes me think that we're just trying to create this composite texture. And that's kind of unusual because we're expecting the melody to continue because we went from flute to horns, and then I don't know, maybe flute and horns, or maybe some other combination. But instead, flute doesn't come back, the horns continue, but it just kind of becomes this wash of sound, you know, which I think is really cool. It's unexpected, and it becomes hard to discern what's going on between the violins and the horns. But like I said, what keeps everything composite is still this underlying propulsion that I don't think has changed yet. You know, with the timpani and the basses, like that just continues. I think if that were to have changed dramatically, this orchestral switch might have seemed a little too disjunct for me, but it didn't. And the fact that this whole section is just textural and not melodic at all, I think it works. I think it works because it's unexpected, but it's nice and it's soothing, and it doesn't change too much. So after that, after all of that gorgeous interwoven lines from the horns and the strings, everything comes as composite as it's been yet. You know, the whole we've unified into the most discernible melody we've heard yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple. And the reason composers do things like this is because they're providing space so that they can then pull you up to the climax of their piece. Do you remember in English class, do you remember like the basic, like the how you tell a story, like the rising action,
Yeah,
or like the
action,
intro, the
all
rising
that.
action, and then like
Yeah.
the climax and the falling action? And usually there's a dip right before the climax.
Yep.
You see that in a lot of stories. You see that, and you hear that in music. I mean, it's everywhere. It's like the bridge of a pop song when all the instruments go out and it's just like, you know, Adam Levine and a piano, right? That's like, or like Chris Martin and just him playing his piano. Like that's on so much pop music, and then the whole thing comes back.
That's
right?
like literally
And
what
that's
I just witnessed on this one I'm watching One Piece right now, and I just like watched like basically every character does something, is about to do something drastic. So
Yep.
like, you know, they're about to do something, and then it just moves the camera away from them, and like let's go look
Mhm.
at something else. But we know they're about to do something, and then literally the
Right.
last like 2 minutes of the episode comes back, and it was just all like he does what he does, and everyone's like, oh.
Exactly. They keep you on their toes, and they do it beautifully here. I wanted to ask you, Chris, does that section, the section that goes, "Ba-da," does that remind you of anything? Does that remind you of a film score in particular? I'll give
Yes.
you a hint.
Yes, it reminds me of what's his name? Oh my gosh, it reminds me of Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie.
Yeah,
what's
The
that?
Revenant.
Yep, there we go.
Yes.
That's it.
Was
That's
that-
dope. That's dope. You knew
I
I
think I
get
know the
that.
composer. Yeah. No, it totally was so reminiscent of that, and I thought of you because you're the one who showed me that score. If you haven't checked out the score to Revenant,
It's
I
amazing.
think I know the composer, but I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, so I won't go there.
Just
But
look up the
you can
Revenant.
totally you just look at Revenant, and the very first cue,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very similar vibe. It's just a string orchestra for the most part. There's some kind of like ethereal electronic sounds, but for the most part, it's a string orchestra doing a very similar thing that's happening here. And the weight and how heavy it is, it's just, you know, it's gorgeous and
Absolutely powerful.
absolutely powerful. Yeah. So I thought that was cool, especially because it reminded me of The Revenant. But I mean, here they do things so, like, this is the essence of less is more, because for 8 measures straight, it's pretty much the same thing on repeat. But then the second 4 measures, all they repeat the whole phrase. Nothing changes other than they just add a timpani, right? They add low end propulsion. Propulsion's a big, important concept we talk about in film scoring. It provides forward movement, and then this is why the rhythm section in, say, a jazz ensemble or pop music is so important because the rhythm section takes care of the propulsion, and it's usually done a lot in the low registers. Like think of kick drums, think of bass lines. Here, the timpani takes the propulsion. It provides propulsion, and it's a low register instrument. So on the last 4 measures of this slow part, you'll hear the timpani come in. And if you're not even paying attention, it might be something that's like felt more than heard, or felt more than actually realized. And that's kind of the point. It's supposed to just be like snuck in there, and providing you with this sense of forward movement without you even really noticing.
Yeah, it definitely, like, it sounds like a bell, like the way it hits. I can't describe it. It sounds like a funeral bell esque, like done.
Oh yeah.
Done. Like I don't know why I was thinking of Undertaker, but
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah. Here I'll go
Yeah.
back and I'll let it run for this last.
Yeah,
couple
let's. Yeah, you know, maybe like let it run to the end.
Gotcha.
We probably won't have time to get through all of it, but don't worry. I had another sheet that breaks down a bunch of stuff, so you want to look at this on your own. You'll have a little companion chart that will explain a bunch of stuff if you're interested. But I guess we can just let it run, and then I'll break that down, and that'll probably be a wrap.
Yeah, it'll be a wrap.
Yeah. There it is.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous. Great choice, Chris. This was a very, very good choice.
Hey, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I can, man. I knew your expertise were gonna just, you know.
I'm happy to be called upon.
Yeah, you know, and I'm happy to have you. It's been quite the pleasure, and you know, wouldn't have it any other way. You know, I feel like everything you said was very informative, very awesome, and you just, you know, just gave everyone like a new outlook, a sense of respect to
and
these musics.
And I'm just happy that people are willing to listen to me and to like, because like I feel like sometimes I get so caught up in this stuff. I'm like, geez, does anybody even care? But I'm happy you do.
Nah, bro, I care a lot.
And I hope everybody else did.
I was thinking that was amazing. I was like, yeah, my music friends who weren't able to see it, I'm definitely gonna send them like, yeah, you might want to rewatch this one. I ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah, and send them the resources. Could you pull up the Attack on Titan sheet? I'll just show them that real quick.
1 second. Let me. One moment. So, alright, 1 second. I pulled it up. I gotta switch over though.
Got it.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that'll probably be enough to just get the gist of it. So this is a little chart I made, which kind of breaks down the piece in a very similar way that I was just doing it, very section by section. So the way I broke it up was in 4 measures. If you're familiar with timing in music, this piece is in 3/4. So if you want to count along measure by measure, you count in groups of 3. If that you know isn't something you're familiar with, I also put the actual timings of each part that I think is important, where important changes happen. So you can take a look in this first square here. I've got the intro, 8 measures long, that measures 1 through 4, and also starts on 0, 0, 0, right? 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Next square, similar idea, measures 5 through 8. That starts at 13 seconds. So you got all these different references you can go into the song, whether you want to look at it by measures or time. Honestly, I think they're both helpful, because we don't have the sheet music. We can't actually go in and choose the measure. So I think having the time is helpful, even if keeping track of the measures is something you could do. And then I just wrote little blurbs about what I think is fun to listen into, the functions of instruments. Instruments are gorgeous, and they orchestral instruments are gorgeous, and melodies are gorgeous, and orchestration is gorgeous, but all these instruments really do have functions as well. And I get into that too. It's an interesting way to think about composing, not just what you think sounds good, but what you think can get the job done, right? That you accomplish the desired effect that you're looking for. So I get a little into that too. And yeah, it's sectioned off by 4 measures each. And it goes, if you scroll down, the end of the chart is there. So there's 4 panels to it. And then I included this link at the bottom. I found a link on YouTube, which is someone did a mock-up on, and I don't know what DAW they used. It looks like it was either Studio One or Reaper. I think it was Studio One. They did their own mock-up, and it sounds pretty good. To my ears, it sounded right. Since I don't have the score, I was doing it all by ear, kind of analyzing everything by ear. So I think they got it all right. To my ear, it sounded pretty good. So the cool thing about this video is that he's got it all. The music's playing back, and he just got the DAW screen playing as well, so you can see the audio files, and everything you hear lines up with one of the audio files, and all the audio files are labeled. So when you see the flute coming in, you can just visually see it as you're listening to it. So it's a good little listening video, just because there's that visual element that doesn't exist in the one we just did. The cool thing about the one we just did is that was definitely performed by a live orchestra. The sound quality is so much better. But if you want a bit of a visual representation of what you're listening to, that's a good link to check out. And I hope that if you're just interested, that this little chart helps listen into it. Yeah, I love this stuff. Analyzing music is I do it for fun sometimes, but whenever I'm analyzing music, it's usually just for fun to help me get better at but also as a tool to help me get better at my own composing. But I'm always happy to share it, and for whoever's interested. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and listening. This has been great.
It's a pleasure having you.
Yeah.
And to everyone else who spent this time, and to the people in the future who come back and watch this. Yo, enjoy yourself. You got to hit.
Thanks,
you
Chris.
got to see the Legend at work. Yo, no problem. Hey, I take pleasure in making sure that dope people share their dope abilities, and if anyone could break these songs down, I knew it was you. So,
and honestly, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that you have a platform to do this. What you do to Toonamaste is awesome. You got so many cool people here. Yeah, it's a great little community you got going on here. So I love it.
I appreciate you, dog, and I appreciate you taking the time to stop out here and vibe with us. But with that being said,
sure.
Alas, the time has come. The galaxy is taking off. Toonamaste ship is about to leave the shuttle. We hope that y'all have a great night, a spectacular day, a wonderful morning, and stay up in your bag, you keep doing you, and keep vibing. Keep vibing, my friends. Keep vibing.